There were two childhood sweethearts who grew up together. One of them was studying for a master's degree at Lin University, living a quiet life and only coming back once a year. The other was betrothed to me from birth. I knew she was my future wife from the moment I became sensible. Therefore, I had always guarded her meticulously, but I never expected this to become a burden to her. Today, she finally couldn't hold back and erupted. During a family dinner, both sets of parents brought up our engagement. Shen Shin Yu slammed her hand on the table, stood up, and pointed at me, shouting, "It's all your fault for following me around every day. I can't talk to you. I can't scold you. You just stick to me shamelessly, causing everyone to misunderstand. Stay away from me from now on. It's so annoying." Hearing this, I was stunned, and the half piece of shrimp I was about to put on her plate dropped to the floor. Her words were harsh, no different from accusing me of being a self-pitying fool in front of everyone. My face paled under the stares of the onlookers. My throat felt choked, a painful lump stuck in it. 18 years of being constantly by her side, I had given her all my affection, only to be repaid with her accusation of being, quote, shameless, and having my face and dignity trampled on in front of so many people. My parents' faces were ashen. They probably never imagined that the girl they watched grow up would treat their son this way in public. Shen Shin Yu's father was the first to react, quickly stepping in to reprimand her. "Shin Yu, how can you talk like that?" Shen Shin Yu frowned and yelled, "Why can't I talk like that? In my eyes, she's just the boy next door. I can't possibly marry her. I don't like her at all. I want to date and marry the person I love. You have no right to monopolize my marriage." After saying that, she threw her chopsticks down and tried to leave. Uncle Shen looked at my parents, then at me standing awkwardly by the table, and in a fit of rage, chased after Shen Shin Yu and slapped her. The crisp smack made my whole body tremble. This was the first time I had seen Uncle Shen hit her. I instinctively rushed over, wanting to help her up, but she violently pushed me away. I stumbled backward a few steps. She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes, gritting her teeth. "Are you satisfied now?" My eyes widened instantly. Seeing her wiping away tears and about to leave, I grabbed her arm. "What do you mean by that? You should explain clearly." Now, the look in her eyes towards me was nothing but disgust. "You still have the nerve to ask me to explain clearly? If it weren't for you shamelessly following me every day, would they always pair us up? I have never liked you. Could you please stop being so conceited? Hao Chen, I'm begging you, let me have a way out." Hearing this, I froze. Finally, I swallowed the humiliation and spoke seriously. "Shin Yu, I will bear your words in mind. I, Jiang Hao Chen, swear here and now that I will never bother Shen Shin Yu again." From that day on, I didn't say a single word to her. The next day at school, we were like strangers. I entered the classroom first, and Shen Shin Yu followed. It used to be her first and me second. Now it was me first and her second. The students always loved to tease us, saying that Shen Shin Yu and I were like inseparable birds that never flew alone, seeing us enter one after the other. Several classmates in the class joked, "Our inseparable birds have arrived." They used to say this, and I would feel happy. Now, even though the words hadn't changed, my mindset was completely different. I instinctively turned my head to look at Shen Shin Yu. She wore a cold expression, walked to her seat, sat down, took out her textbook, and started doing exercises. Looking at her indifferent demeanor, my heart felt a sharp, stinging pain, as if pierced by needles. "Some words," once said, "cannot be taken back. Since you want to distance yourself from me, then I'll help you." I put my school bag on my seat, walked up to the podium, and addressed the class. It was the first time I had ever clarified my relationship with her. "Hey, Shen Shin Yu and I are just next-door neighbors. We walk to and from school together only because our two families live close by. Everyone has misunderstood. Shen Shin Yu and I are nothing but neighbors. Please stop making wild guesses and stop making fun of us." "Thank you." As I walked down from the podium, I saw the confused and perplexed looks of my classmates. Passing Shen Shin Yu, I noticed her expression was even uglier. The students didn't believe what I had said on the podium. After more than 10 years of us being inseparable, they unanimously decided that we were just a young couple having a spat, and once we made up, things would return to the way they were before. The third period in the afternoon was PE. With high school seniors constantly glued to textbooks and exercise books, we were all worn out and listless. The head teacher was afraid we would become depressed, so whenever there was PE class, she would send all of us out to the field to exercise and relax. I was playing basketball on the court. About 20 minutes later, a female classmate suddenly ran onto the basketball court and urgently called out, "Hao Chen, Hao Chen." Shen Shin Yu stumbled and got hurt while running in PE class. "She's bleeding a lot. Hurry up and go see her." Upon hearing she was hurt, my mind instantly went blank and I became anxious. I sprinted towards the field, perhaps having played the role of a devoted follower for over 10 years. I had grown accustomed to it, so much so that whenever I heard anything about her, I instinctively wanted to rush to her side. A crowd had gathered in the center of the field. A student shouted loudly, "Quick, move aside! Jiang Hao Chen is here!" When the students heard I had arrived, they created a dedicated path for me. Shen Shin Yu suddenly looked up and gazed across the distance. A flicker of emotion, which I didn't understand, flashed across her clear eyes. She looked completely pitiful. I subconsciously reached out my hand, wanting to show concern, but the next second I suddenly cleared my mind. I pressed my lips together and spoke, "You guys help her to the school clinic for treatment." Leaving those words behind, I turned and walked away without hesitation. My departure caught everyone off guard. After I left, they immediately started a heated discussion, saying all sorts of things. I pretended not to hear any of it, not stopping my steps or looking back again. For over half a month, we interacted like ordinary classmates. Although I felt a bit lonely, I was mostly self-assured and unrestrained. One day after evening study hall, I was walking home alone. Shen Shin Yu emerged from around a corner and stood in front of me, blocking my path. I didn't want to have any more connection with her. I shifted a step to the right, trying to walk around her, but to my surprise, she moved with me, blocking my way again. I was a little annoyed, trying my best to keep my gaze calm and indifferent. "Is something the matter?" Hearing this, Shen Shin Yu replied calmly, "No, can I walk with you? Didn't we used to go home together every day?" I gave a frank smile. "If nothing's the matter, I'll be going now. Goodbye." I moved another step sideways, intending to leave. She quickly grabbed my left arm. "Hao Chengege, what are you doing? Is it necessary to be so extreme?" I glanced at her. "Please move aside. I need to go home." Shen Shin Yu looked at me, gritting her teeth. "Jiang Hao Chen, what exactly do you want? Do you intend to never speak to me again?" I just spoke a few harsh words. "Do you have to hold a grudge for this long? When did you become so petty? If you want to draw a clear line with me, why don't you just move? Wouldn't that be a more complete separation?" Hearing this, I nodded calmly. Yes, my dad is looking at houses. But buying a new house is a big deal, and it probably won't be resolved in a short time. I'll go back and urge my dad again. "Don't worry, even if we can't move immediately, I won't bother you anymore. You're heartless." Shen Shin Yu's expression darkened significantly. She stared at me for a while, and after confirming that I wasn't just saying things out of spite, she angrily threw those 3 words at me, turned and walked away without looking back. After that, the two families generally returned to normal interactions, just not as enthusiastic as before. However, a barrier always remained between Shen Shin Yu and me. New Year's Day arrived. My mother had originally planned to celebrate at our own home, but Auntie and Uncle Shen repeatedly invited us over. My father and mother reluctantly gave in after many refusals and finally agreed. I didn't plan on going, intending to stay home all day and look at study materials. However, Shen Shin Yu took the initiative to come to me. "Hao Chen Gege, I actually came to apologize to you. I was wrong that day. I shouldn't have said those things to you. Although I don't love you, I've never disliked you. From now on, no matter what, I will treat you as a good brother." I turned my head and looked at her coldly. "So? Hao Chengege, let's still walk to and from school together from now on. Otherwise, my mom and your aunt will still worry about us." I clenched my teeth. This, "I'm sorry," was practically ripping open my old wounds. It would have been better if she hadn't said it. Just as I was beginning to forget a little, she came to remind me again. After the college entrance examination, the burden that had been on my shoulders for more than 10 years was suddenly gone, and the relief made me sleep soundly for 2 days. On the 4th day after the exam, Shen Shin Yu came to my house to find me. As soon as I opened the door, she gave me a sweet smile. "Our sleepyhead is finally awake." her voice tinged with a playful tone. Then, she leaned over and naturally sat down on the sofa next to me. I didn't know how long it had been since we had been so indifferent to each other. Her sudden closeness felt strange to me, and I subconsciously moved away. Shen Shin Yu looked at me intently. "How, Chengeg? How did you do on the exam?" Her voice held an excitement that I didn't understand. I turned my head and replied lightly, "It went well," then busied myself with a small ornament on the table to keep more distance from her. Perhaps sensing my indifference, Shen Shin Yu leaned her face closer. "How, Chengege, tell me the truth. Are you still angry with me?" I looked up at her with a puzzled expression. Shen Shin Yu watched me for a moment, then smiled helplessly. "How, Chengege, let's go to the same university. We can continue to walk to and from school together." I immediately interrupted her. "I haven't decided which university to apply to yet." Shen Shin Yu pouted. This conversation ended without a resolution, and she looked disappointed that she didn't get a final answer from me. Shen Shin Yu came again during dinner that evening. She was carrying 2 steaming plates of dumplings. "Auntie, the chive and egg dumplings are fresh out of the pot, and they smell delicious. My mom knows how Chen Geje likes them. You should eat them while they're hot." My mother smiled and took the dumplings. After seeing Shen Shin Yu off, my mother brought up the university application again at the dinner table. "Xiao Chen, it would be better for you to apply to the same school as Shen Shin Yu. No matter what, you grew up together and know each other well. You can look out for each other." I didn't answer. I already had my own thoughts. The day we went back to school to check the answers after the college entrance exam, I saw Shen Shin Yu pulling a boy, the transfer student named Song Wei from the next class, into a corner. I had seen Shen Shin Yu with him several times before. The two said they were going to apply to the same university because Song Wei wanted to be her knight and always protect Shen Shin Yu. I gave them a quick glance, then turned and walked away. I had given my 18 years of affection to Shen Shin Yu. Now, I wanted to be myself, so I wouldn't attend the same university as them. The day for applying to universities arrived. After Shen Shin Yu had chosen her courses, she excitedly ran into my room. "How, Chengege, have you chosen your university yet?" I looked at her and replied, "Yes, I have." Shen Shin Yu immediately became excited. "Is it Jin University? I heard Jin University expanded its enrollment this year. With your scores, you can definitely get in." I didn't answer, but countered with a question, "Is Song Wei going to Jin University too?" Although I knew the answer, I still asked, just for that almost non-existent possibility. Shen Shin Yu paused, then smiled sweetly. "Yes, he said he would go to Jin University with me." I closed my eyes, hiding the ache in my heart. Shen Shin Yu's smile gradually faded. She looked steadily at the fake smile on my face. "How, Chen Gage, thank you, and I'm sorry." She had said, "I'm sorry" too many times, but a few light words couldn't mend the wounds in my heart. I smiled faintly. In the last minute before clicking confirm, I changed the university name from Jin University to Lin University, a prestigious university in the north. If not Jin University, then that was my best choice. The day the admission notice arrived, Shen Shin Yu came to my house with her notice, demanding to see mine. "How, Chengeg, let me see your notice, I want to admire it." "This is mine, you can look at it too." I calmly handed her my admission notice. She stared at the name of the university, her eyes widening in surprise. Shen Shin Yu was shocked and unexpected. I had always deferred to her wishes since childhood. She never thought that I would make a decision against her will on such a major matter as university applications. She probably hadn't realized that I was no longer the person I used to be. Shen Shin Yu looked at me in disbelief. "How, Chen Geje, why?" A hint of hurt seemed to be in her eyes. I smiled faintly. To be honest, the Chinese painting major there is more suitable for me. After saying that, I avoided looking into her eyes, and I didn't try to see her reaction to my answer. Shen Shin Yu looked a bit sad. She pursed her lips and turned to leave. I didn't understand what she was still unhappy about after I'd gone this far. That night, after receiving the admission notice, my mother cried and asked me if I wanted to repeat the year and try for Jin University next year, or at least a key university in our city, which would be closer and easier to take care of me, saving them from worrying day and night. I understood my mother's good intentions. But what about mine? I needed an environment conducive to forgetting her and starting anew. I didn't speak, just looked at my mother wistfully. Lin University is very good. Their Chinese painting major is more famous than Jin University's. You go there, study hard, and strive for the master's and doctoral program. Your dad and I will retire in a few years. If you want to stay there, we'll buy you an apartment after you graduate, and your dad and I will move there to keep you company. My father patted my mother. Don't cry. Isn't Shen Ching Ling over there? She can look out for Hao Chen. Feeling the care and love of my parents, the melancholy and reluctance buried in my heart gradually faded. At that time, my mind was solely focused on escaping Shen Shin Yu. When I filled out the application, I acted purely on my own thoughts, completely forgetting that Uncle Shen's family had another daughter who was studying for a master's degree at Lin University, the very school I chose. Perhaps some things are destined, and after all the twists and turns, I still had to live in the proximity of the Shen family. Fortunately, the person was no longer Shen Shin Yu, but Shen Ching Ling, who had always treated me like a younger brother. Shen Shin Yu left for school a day before me. I really wanted to see her off, but thinking about the things she had said, I didn't have the courage to step out of the house. I could only watch her secretly through the peephole on the door. Shen Shin Yu stood in front of my door with her suitcase for a full 2 minutes. It wasn't until Uncle Shen urged her that she finally walked away. From inside the door, I watched her walk away step by step, leaving my world. She and I were finally separated. My affection that could never be spoken remained in the past. University life was fresh and busy. When I had free time, I would occasionally wonder what Shen Shin Yu was doing, if she was thinking of me. Since birth, I had never been separated from her for so long, and I wasn't used to it. My heart always felt empty. To distract myself, I joined several clubs and did volunteer work in my free time, keeping myself as busy as a spinning top. Exhausted like a dog every day, I would fall asleep as soon as I climbed into bed. After we both reported to our respective schools, we would still keep in touch. It was always Shen Shin Yu who asked me on WeChat how I was doing and asked me to send her some photos. I tried hard to suppress my feelings, and my replies were always just a few light words. As for the photos she requested, I didn't understand whether she wanted photos of me or the school. I analyzed that the latter was more likely, so I took many photos with cultural and characteristic elements and sent them to her. Later, we didn't communicate much, often going 10 days to half a month without saying a word. She had a boy she liked accompanying her, and I didn't want to cause misunderstandings or let my personal feelings affect her life. So no matter how much I missed her, I resisted the urge to send her a single message. Close to the winter break, she reached out to me once, asking when I would return. I held my phone, staring at the few simple words for a long time, then typed a string of words on the screen and sent it back. Haven't decided yet. We're not going the same way anyway, don't worry about me. That afternoon, Shen Shin Yu posted a moment on her social media that only had 5 words. We're going home. Below it were 2 pictures. One was a booking record for 2 flight tickets, and the other was 2 hands clasped together. My heart felt a sharp pang of pain. So I packed my suitcase alone and started my journey home. The winter break at northern universities is quite long, allowing me to comfortably stay home for many days and eat my mother's cooking every day, which was what I longed for most at school. Shen Shin Yu had returned a few days before me. After I came back, she would occasionally come to my house to sit and chat with me. Each time she came, she was smiling, telling me about the strange and interesting things at her university. I told her about the goose feather snow in the north and the long, straight icicles under the eaves. She mostly listened quietly, occasionally showing a faint smile. Sometimes she would remind me to dress warmly and not catch a cold, and sometimes she would say, "Take care of yourself while you're there alone." I attributed everything she said and did to a younger sister's concern for her older brother. I didn't dare to think more or take it seriously. After all, I still had to live my life alone, and everything else was fleeting. One day, she came in while I was sitting with my legs propped up on the coffee table, vigorously eating a watermelon, getting juice everywhere. She rolled her eyes at me twice, went to the bathroom, grabbed a damp towel, and tossed it to me. Quote, ... with a look of utter disdain. "Look at your table manners, how uncultured. What girl would ever want to be with you?" My heart violently ached. Is that why you trampled on my affection like it was trash, and belittled me so cruelly? Shen Shin Yu, please, just stay away from me. When the spring festival arrived, the 2 families still gathered together. as they always had. My family of 3 was dragged over to Uncle Shen's house early on. Window paper cuts were pasted on the windows, small colored lights hung on the balcony, and the sound of firecrackers outside made the festive atmosphere even thicker. I had nothing to do. I wanted to go back to my small room several times, but Auntie Shen kept stopping me, urging me to go to Shen Shin Yu's room and play with her. I refused and just nestled in a corner of the sofa, scrolling through my phone alone. The things that happened were like a sharp knife constantly hanging over my head. I didn't dare to forget them for a moment. Shen Shin Yu had apologized for it, but I couldn't get over the hurdle in my own heart. I didn't know if I was being too petty, but I only knew that a long, bleeding scar remained on my heart. Just then, my phone was suddenly snatched away. I was startled. I was still looking at the utensils. Shen Shin Yu rested one hand on the sofa armrest beside me and held my phone up in front of her eyes to look at the screen. I reached out to grab it. "Give it back!" She quickly pulled her hand back, made a face at me, and then turned and ran off quickly. "If you want your phone, come to my room." I didn't want to go to her room, nor did I want to chase after her. But then I remembered that I still had many of her photos saved on my phone, and if she saw them, she'd surely overthink things again. I reluctantly got up to find her and retrieved my phone. When I got there, she was already sitting at her desk. "Come in, let's look at it together." She smiled happily, her eyes twinkling. I stood at the doorway and called out, "I'm not coming in. Bring it out to me. Don't dare to come in." "Ha ha, how Chengege, since when did you become so thin-skinned?" I looked at her and said plainly, "Just look at the utensils. If you like it, you can keep looking. I can watch TV instead." With that, I turned to leave. She called out to me in dissatisfaction. "Don't be such a sore loser, okay? Can't even take a joke. You're really as petty as her. Here, take it, like I even want to look at it." She flung the phone to me. I scrambled to catch it, my peripheral vision catching the look on her face. The atmosphere gave me a headache. Suddenly, I didn't know how to interact with her at all. I got my phone back, but I no longer had the patience to browse. Instead, I kept replaying the last thing she had said. Who was she referring to? Shen Shin Yu had always been aloof and didn't like interacting with boys. I was the sole exception by her side. That, her, had to be Song Wei. Once I figured that out, I opened my phone's photo album and deleted the pictures I had accumulated over the years, one by one. Around 9 o'clock, Ching Ling called me via video chat. We chatted cheerfully for a good while. Just then, Auntie Shen called out to me, "Hao Chen, come quickly, your sister Ching Ling is video calling! She has something to say to you." I sat down. On the phone screen, Shen Ching Ling was watching me calmly, a hint of a smile hidden in her eyes. "Hao Chen, I've been sketching outside with Professor Xia and couldn't come to pick you up. How are you? Is school going well?" I smiled and nodded, saying, "It's good." In the year since I last saw her, Sister Ching Ling had gained a more mature charm. Her starlit eyes shimmered with a fiery glow. Shen Shin Yu was already very beautiful, but she was even more striking than Shen Shin Yu. Shen Xingling's pleasant, sophisticated voice held a hint of concern. "Are you not used to the food? Why have you lost so much weight?" I shook my head and said, "No, I actually quite like northern cuisine, especially the guobao ru, sweet and sour pork." Perhaps my gluttonous expression amused Sister Ching Ling. Her eyebrows relaxed, and she broke into a wide smile full of indulgence. "Good. I'll be back in March or April. I'll treat you to guobao ru then." Sister Ching Ling's call brought much joy to my New Year's Eve. Happy times are always fleeting, and soon it was time to go back to school. Under the strong intervention of my mother and Auntie Shen, she and I booked a flight for the same day. When we arrived at the airport, Song Wei was standing by the roadside, waiting with a smile. Shen Shin Yu escaped her parents' sight and became very cheerful. She happily ran over and threw herself into Song Wei's arms. People in love truly feel like a day apart is like 3 autumns. I turned my head away, not wanting to watch, and carried my luggage into the terminal alone. The academic workload this semester was much heavier than the last. I put aside all distractions and immersed myself completely in my studies. Gradually, I found my heart becoming calm. I participated in a competition organized by my department, and my results were surprisingly excellent, almost causing a sensation in the entire department. The professor, who greatly appreciated my painting, asked me to paint a freehand bird and flower piece based on my own understanding. He said if the painting was good, he would take it to some art exhibition for display and would take me on as his graduate student. This professor held a very high status in the Chinese painting world, and being personally guided by him was the ultimate dream for any student. It took me over a month to complete the painting. When I nervously handed it over to the professor, he was on a video conference with someone. I was about to retreat, but the professor beckoned me to come in. She picked up my painting and showed it to the screen, asking the person on the other end for their opinion. After the meeting, I learned that the person was a graduate student of the professor. She was guiding her research online. Unsurprisingly, my painting received very high praise again. The professor asked me to add the girl on the other end to WeChat, saying our paintings complemented each other and that I should exchange ideas on Chinese painting with her more often. Professor, I already have her WeChat. A pleasant, mature female voice entered my ears. It was very familiar. Professor Xia looked puzzled. You two know each other? She held the phone out to me. Seeing the person, I smiled. It was Sister Ching Ling. She was looking at me with a contained smile from the other end of the network. He's my little brother, dear. Go back to class. I'll be back soon to treat you to good food. Sister Ching Ling's smile was very gentle, and her affection for me was as doting as ever. Professor Xia praised my talent to everyone she met. In her words, I became a rare genius. Almost overnight, I became a prominent figure in the department, and even the entire school, ranking among the top 3 on the school's most talked about list. My photo was even posted on the main board, making most of the school recognize me. Subsequently, more people came looking for me to paint for them, both tall and short. I was busy all day, and my mood gradually brightened. Sister Ching Ling is 3 years older than me. In the past, I was the one who meticulously doted on Shen Shin Yu, and I was the one who enjoyed Shen Shin Ling's care, so I didn't know much about her. Now that I was interacting with her more, I found her to be a very interesting person. Shen Shin Ling would discuss knowledge of Chinese painting with me every now and then and pass on some of her experiences. Sometimes she would send her paintings over, and we would appreciate them together. I would also consult her when I hit a bottleneck, and she would always give me the most sincere and beneficial advice. Because of our shared interests, we chatted very well and felt very relaxed in each other's company. Sometimes I would squeeze out a little time to check my social media, just to train my endurance. Shen Shin Yu had completely abandoned her previous coldness and was practically showcasing her happy life every day. It was either 2 of them having a small drink or going on a date holding hands. In short, waves of public displays of affection were posted, leaving me feeling choked and bitter. I wanted to soothe my throat with the guobao ru that Sister Ching Ling promised to treat me to, but her return date kept being postponed, so I had to go with my roommates twice. The summer break arrived quickly. Shen Shin Yu didn't contact me, and I didn't disturb him. Once again, I set off on my journey home alone with my bag. I guess I was getting used to life without him. The plane took off at night, and I arrived home a little after 6 a.m. I didn't have time to talk to my parents. After a quick shower, I plunged into bed and didn't stir. When I woke up from a jumble of dreams, it was already noon. My mother was serving the food onto the table. Seeing that I was awake, she beckoned me to come and eat. I looked at my mother and said, "Mom, I want to eat cold noodles tonight." My mother shook her head. "Maybe another day. Your Auntie Shen is treating us out for dinner tonight." The dinner was at a newly opened private restaurant on the corner of the street. Since I arrived late, there was only one empty seat left when I entered the private room. Before I could sit down, Shen Shin Yu spoke up. "How Chen Gage, you're the slowest. The whole family is waiting for you." I raised my eyelids, just about to speak, when a person was like a sharp knife, violently stabbing into my eyes, hurting so much that I almost couldn't breathe. He had matured quite a bit in the past 6 months, and his eyes were filled with an unmistakable tenderness. Shen Shin Yu leaned against Song Hui's arm, smiling shyly. Song Hui held his hand, and the intimacy between the two of them was seamless. My eyes hurt so much, and my heart hurt even more. He brought him back to meet the family. All the past memories that belonged only to Shen Shin Yu and me came to an abrupt end at this moment, no longer having any meaning. For a moment I was lost and didn't know what to do. Auntie Shen greeted me warmly. "Hao Chen, sit down. What do you like to eat? Auntie will order it for you." I sat down in a daze. Right across from me were the two people nestled sweetly together. At this moment, I truly wanted to hurt my eyes. Shen Shin Yu's gaze towards Song Wei was soft and sweet. This is the neighbor brother I often talk about, Zhang Hao Chen Gege. This is my boyfriend, Song Wei. Of course, I knew him. He was a classmate from our grade, a transfer student from another city, and a well-deserved school heartthrob. His gentle and meticulous personality was a world apart from my own carefree nature. Girls probably all liked this type. I nodded slightly. Hello, Uncle Shen and Auntie Shen knew about Song Wei's family affairs, and they were very unhappy. Throughout the banquet, they continuously added food to my plate, completely ignoring Song Wei. Song Wei seemed a bit at a loss. Shen Shin Yu kept whispering words of comfort to him. As for my parents, they were bound by etiquette and found it inconvenient to comment on the Shen family's private matter. I, on the other hand, focused entirely on the food from the moment it was served. When I was almost done eating, I put down my bowl and chopsticks and went out to a small balcony for some fresh air. I didn't want to watch them display their affection. A moment later, a light and hurried footstep stopped outside the balcony. I didn't want to be discovered, so I quietly moved further into the inner side. Just then, Auntie Shen's voice rang out. Yu, what is so good about that Song Wei? What makes you so devoted to him? You'll need a political review to enter a state-owned enterprise after college graduation. Can his family background pass? In every aspect, how does he compare to Hao Chen? Why must you choose him? My heart jumped. I wanted to leave. After all, this was the Shen family's business, and it was inappropriate for me, an outsider, to know too much. Unfortunately, the balcony was a dead end, and I couldn't leave. Shen Shin Yu had clearly fallen head over heels for Song Wei. He desperately lowered his voice and argued with his aunt. Song Wei stood on the side, helpless, watching everything unfold. Although he wore a smile, there was an inexplicable hint of subservience in it. For a moment, I actually felt a little sorry for him. What fault was it of his, really? What did his parents' issues have to do with him? He merely met a girl he liked. As for the mess between Shen Shin Yu and me, it truly had nothing to do with him. Furthermore, neither Shen Shin Yu nor Song Wei were at fault. They just wanted to live the life they liked. I couldn't help but laugh at myself. Why could I find a reason to sympathize with everyone else, but I couldn't save myself? Outside, Shen Shin Yu clearly couldn't control his emotions, and his voice rose repeatedly. Mom, can you please think about me? The person I like is Song Wei. No matter how good Zhang Hao Chen is, he's just a neighbor, at most my neighbor brother. I don't like him. I don't like him now, and it's impossible for me to like him in the future. I couldn't bear to listen anymore. After 19 years, I was rejected so mercilessly again. Auntie Shen's face turned white with anger, and she raised her hand to slap him. I stepped out onto the balcony and caught her arm. Auntie Shen's expression immediately changed. The guilt in her eyes almost drowned me. Shen Shin Yu turned to look at me, his eyes very cold. I didn't know where the coldness in his eyes came from or why it was directed at me. I chuckled self-deprecatingly and patted Auntie Shen's hand. Auntie, I don't like Shen Shin Yu and he doesn't like me. It's impossible for us to be together. Besides, I already have someone I like, and we are very happy together now. After saying this, I subconsciously glanced toward the sky. As things stood, I could only use this excuse to protect my dignity. The people in the private room, perhaps seeing that we hadn't returned for a long time, had all come out to look for us. At this moment, they were all standing at the door of the private room, and they had all heard the last lie I spoke. Everyone was looking at me, their expressions calm. That night, I lay in bed for a long time, unable to sleep. The pain in my chest kept spreading. Close to midnight, Shen Shin Yu sent me a WeChat message. Do you really have a girlfriend? Who is she? I stared at the phone screen, watching for a long time without blinking. Then I set my phone to silent and tossed it to the foot of the bed. I didn't reply. The next morning, with heavy bags under my eyes, I arranged to go hiking with a few high school classmates. After what happened yesterday, I especially didn't want to see Shen Shin Yu, but our two homes were too close. The only way to avoid him was to get out. As soon as I was ready and opened my front door, Shen Shin Yu, with Song Wei on his arm, was just opening his door and putting on his shoes. I simply said hello, not planning to say anything more. Then Shen Shin Yu spoke. "Let's go," I called a car downstairs. I was stunned. "Are you two going too?" Shen Shin Yu looked at me sideways, a deep displeasure in his eyes. "Why not? Let you go out for romance all by yourself?" I felt a chill in my heart. "Why are you crashing a simple hike? Can't you just leave me alone for a while?" However, since I had initiated the activity, I definitely couldn't back out midway. A few classmates gathered at the foot of the mountain. They were all people I got along with very well. This was our first get-together since the summer break started. The friendship among boys is simple and pure. We put our arms around each other's shoulders, laughing and shouting. They were all aware of the messy situation between Shen Shin Yu and me. They used to joke about us being the golden couple. In everyone's eyes, I should be with Shen Shin Yu. But with Shen Shin Yu holding another boy's hand in front of me, they were confused. They kept giving me meaningful looks, their gossip fires burning fiercely. I could only give a wry smile. "Shen Shin Yu, you should introduce your boyfriend to everyone." Kei Zhen, a straightforward high school classmate, shouted out, "When did Shen Shin Yu get a boyfriend?" My friends all knew my feelings for Shen Shin Yu very well. They were also witnesses when he publicly scolded me, and they had cursed Shen Shin Yu for days afterward. Kei Zhen was particularly protective, and he was obviously trying to stick up for me in a roundabout way. I smiled helplessly. This guy always brought up the most awkward things. Shen Shin Yu was visibly displeased. Kei Zhen continued to mock, "Aren't you two?" Before he could finish, Jiang Yu covered his mouth. "Stop talking nonsense. Let's start climbing." Hiking is physically demanding. We were all exhausted halfway up the mountain and sat down in the shade to rest and cool off. They all gathered around me, hesitant to speak. The way they wanted to talk but were afraid of hurting me was both funny and heartwarming. I was glad they were there today, otherwise Shen Shin Yu would have completely walked all over me. I looked seriously at my friends and said, "I'll only say this once, and no one is allowed to ask about it again. The childhood betrothal was just a joke from the older generation. He always treated me as a brother. I was the one who misunderstood. Songhua is the person he likes." Hearing this, Kei Zhen looked at me and asked, "What about you, Ho Chen? Don't tell us your feelings for him weren't real." I shook my head helplessly. "A forced melon is not sweet. If you don't want me to be alone, do you have any cousins or older sisters you could introduce me to?" Hearing this, Jiang Yu spoke up. "It must be hard, right?" I turned my head to look at a small daisy blooming in the distance. After a long time, I replied, "It'll pass." Everyone sighed, lamenting the ever-changing nature of things. Then, their spirits lifted, and they enthusiastically declared that they would cast a wide net when we got back and find me a girlfriend 100 times better than Shen Shin Yu. I couldn't refuse them and just let them talk nonsense. Finally, we reached the mountaintop. A few of us noisily rushed to the only store to get ice cream. I caught a glimpse of Shen Shin Yu and Song Wei, who had arrived earlier. Holding a container of raspberries on a bench under the tree, you fed each other, one berry at a time. Not wanting to torture my eyes, I turned and walked in the opposite direction. Kei Zhen followed beside me, muttering in a low voice, "Shen Shin Yu is heartless and mean. He's definitely going to regret it later. Song Wei doesn't look simple at all. Your silly, innocent personality is no match for him." Kei Zhen's face was full of indignant pity. After he finished his tirade, I told him, "Shen Shin Yu and I are long in the past. Don't mention it anymore." Kei Zhen gnashed his teeth, scolding me for being useless, clearly feeling a bitter disappointment. Just then Liu Yu called, saying they had discovered a peach tree full of fruit growing on a cliff face and asked us to come and see it. A peach tree growing on a cliff was rare. So Kei Zhen and I rushed over to see the novelty. On the east-facing sunlit slope, there was indeed a very large peach tree growing, slanted against the cliff wall. I saw that the peach branches were very close to me. It seemed I could touch them if I stretched out my hand. Playfulness sparked in me. I climbed onto the railing, ignoring my friends' attempts to stop me, and reached out to grab a protruding peach branch. Whether it was a personal jinx or the railing being old and unable to bear my weight, I felt a dizzy spell, and my head pitched straight down. Perhaps I wasn't meant to die. At that moment of life and death, I quickly reached out and grabbed a vine sticking out from a rock crevice. This stopped my fall, leaving me suspended in midair. Kei Zhen and the others were shouting something from above, but my ears were ringing. and I couldn't hear anything clearly. Since this was a scenic spot, the mountain rescue team arrived quickly. When 2 people hauled me up from the cliff face, Shen Shin Yu rushed over to me. "How, Chen? Are you okay? Are you hurt?" I had various degrees of injury on my arms and legs. Post-traumatic fear overwhelmed my emotions, making me momentarily unable to answer his question. Song Wei crouched between him and me to assist, and gently comforted Shen Shin Yu as he reached out his arm to me. "Yu, don't worry, Hao Chen will be fine." I had just escaped a life-threatening situation. When the rescue team carried me down the mountain, the ambulance was already there. A few of my friends rode with me in the back. The ambulance wailed as it sped towards the hospital. From the moment we went down the mountain until I was lifted into the ambulance, Song Wei cautiously held Shen Shin Yu's hand and followed behind us. The only people surrounding me were my old friends. At that moment, my heart turned completely cold. The ambulance stopped at the hospital entrance. I saw my parents rushing over like mad, their tearful eyes making my heart ache. I ran out to avoid Shen Shin Yu for some peace, but he completely ignored my injury. I stayed in the hospital for 4 days. My parents took care of me the whole time, never leaving my side. Uncle and Auntie Shen also came every day, bringing fruit and meals, which was a lot of trouble for them. I felt bad. I knew what they meant. They were trying to compensate me with their actions. Shen Shin Yu knew I was injured but never came to see me. It's impossible not to be disappointed. At noon, on the 3rd day of my hospital stay, I had just woken up from a nap when I heard a suppressed argument at the door. The voices were very familiar, Shen Shin Yu and Song Wei. Separated by the door, the sounds weren't very clear. It seemed Shen Shin Yu wanted to visit me, but Song Wei wouldn't allow it. The two were having an unpleasant argument outside the room. I was being discharged tomorrow. Whether he came to see me or not was irrelevant now. Listening to their argument, I drifted back to sleep. When I was discharged, both families came out in force, filling the hospital room. Uncle and Auntie Shen packed my belongings. My mother helped me put on my clothes, and my father knelt on the floor to tie my shoelaces. My heart felt warm. Even without love, I still had such deep and sweet family affection. I was actually very rich. Shen Shin Yu stood far away, with a slightly unhappy Song Wei next to him. Every time Shen Shin Yu tried to help, Song Wei stopped him, so he just stood there keeping his company. Shen Shin Yu occasionally spared me a glance, his eyes carrying some concern. Most of the time, he was whispering something to Song Wei. Song Wei kept glancing at me, his eyes full of reluctance. I figured Auntie insisted that Shen Shin Yu come to pick me up, and Song Wei was unwilling, but didn't dare refuse her, thus causing an argument between him and Shen Shin Yu. Before I was discharged, the doctor said my external injuries were fine, but I still needed a few days of rest. So when I got home, my mother firmly forbade me from going out. I lay at home for more than 10 days, and if I didn't get up and move around, I felt like my legs and feet would atrophy. Just as I was enjoying myself, Shen Shin Yu's phone call came in. I calmed down, frowned, and considered whether to answer. However, my finger accidentally swiped and unlocked the phone. Shen Shin Yu's voice clearly came through the screen. "Hao Chen Gage, open the door." Before I could ask what was wrong, Shen Shin Yu replied, "I've come to see you. Aren't I worried about you? I've been here several times, but Auntie wouldn't let me see you. I've been thinking about you. I noticed Auntie just went out. Hurry up and open the door and let me in." Hearing this, I said, "My wounds hurt. I can't get up." I was actually standing right by the door. Shen Shin Yu's face held a hint of stubbornness. "Get up slowly. I'll only come in when you open the door. It wouldn't be good if I kept the door shut and refused to let him in." I thought it over and decided to let him in. I slowly walked over and opened the door, and immediately regretted it. I thought he was alone, but Song Wei was standing beside him, his arm hooked around his shoulder. My head swam, and I cursed myself for being so careless. Although I was deeply regretting it, since they were already here, I couldn't very well turn them away. "Please, come in." I deliberately used the word please. Shen Shin Yu quickly glanced at me, held Song Wei's hand, and squeezed past me sideways. Then he naturally sat down on the sofa. Song Wei sat right next to him. The two were like conjoined twins. I couldn't help but inwardly rant. "I know you're in love, but do you have to flaunt it in front of me all the time?" But on the surface I remained polite, and went to the kitchen to cut fruit for my guests. "Hao Shen Gege, I heard about your accident late that day, and I didn't rush to the rescue. I'm sorry." I smiled and shook my head. It wasn't your fault. Why are you apologizing? I'm fine. Hearing this, Shen Shin Yu smiled and said, I knew it. The handsome Hao Chen I know is the most generous and would never be angry with me. This was Song Hui's first time at my house. He looked around curiously. Hao Chen, your house is so nice, I politely replied. My mom did it all. She's an interior designer, quite famous in the industry. My talent for painting is probably inherited from her. I came out with the fruit platter and placed it on the coffee table in front of the sofa. I used a small fork to spear a piece of watermelon and handed it to Song Hui, then speared a piece for myself and put it in my mouth. Shen Shin Yu looked up at me calmly. I didn't understand what she meant, and the fruit in my mouth no longer tasted sweet. I asked her, bewildered. What are you looking at? Are you sick? Shen Shin Yu rolled her eyes at me. Where's my fruit? Is this how you treat your little sister? I replied speechlessly. Don't you have hands? Can't you take it yourself? Are you waiting for me to feed you like before? You know where our passbook is, so why are you pretending to be a guest? I said these words completely unintentionally, just chatting casually with her. But Song Hui's expression quickly changed. He seemed a little angry, a little resentful, and mostly jealous. Hao Chen, is your family very rich? You even tell people where your passbook is. Aren't you afraid something might happen? I shrugged indifferently. I was just giving an example. My dad is a chief physician, and my mom is a designer. Our income is decent. I was just telling the truth, not exaggerating or embellishing anything. Song Hui's face looked even worse. He held Shen Shin Yu's hand, still in that gentle manner. Actually, not having money is quite good. I heard that families with good financial conditions often have problems. Either siblings fight over property, or the husband and wife have a strained relationship and end up getting divorced sooner or later. I instantly frowned. Wasn't he clearly cursing my family? Shen Shin Yu also felt that his words were inappropriate. She squeezed his hand. Song Hui, don't talk nonsense. Uncle and auntie's relationship is very good. Song Hui pulled Shen Shin Yu into his arms, then turned and looked at me provocatively. That's not what I meant. I really wanted to find a screwdriver and twist them out of my house. Why come to my house and act like such a smug jerk? Song Hui's words were deeply meaningful. Even I, who was usually so carefree, understood. Shen Shin Yu couldn't possibly have missed it. She was just pretending to be clueless to protect Song Hui. Song Hui continued. Hao Chen, don't misunderstand. It's just that Yu was worried about you, and I accompanied her to visit. I truly didn't mean anything else. I shook my head. You're overthinking it. Thank you for visiting me. Please go home. I'm tired and want to rest for a while. I gave him a cold ultimatum. Shen Shin Yu's face turned cold. She stared at me, seemingly very angry that I was kicking them out. Jiang Hao Chen, we came with good intentions. What are you doing? If you really look down on Song Hui, then we'll just stay away from you in the future. The first half of her sentence was for Song Hui, and the second half was aimed at me. I coldly retorted. Are you deaf? Didn't you hear what he said about my parents? I don't care what you say about me, but you can't talk about my parents. I don't want to argue. Just get out, don't come back if you have nothing to do. Shen Shin Yu paused, her eyes filled with disbelief. Song Hui then jumped in. Yu, I really didn't mean it that way. He misunderstood me. You have to believe me. I was utterly disgusted. I never thought a boy could be so manipulative. Shen Shin Yu glared at me. Jiang Hao Chen. Song Hui was indeed thoughtless for speaking about uncle and auntie that way, but he's always been outspoken and didn't mean any harm. But are you completely faultless? You know his family had such a major incident, yet you said how good your life is in front of him. Aren't you provoking him? Jiang Hao Chen, how could you turn into this kind of person? I was so angry I laughed. That assessment was practically calling me malicious. Was this still the Shen Shin Yu I'd known for 19 years? I suppressed the displeasure in my heart and said, Shen Shin Yu, I'm too lazy to argue with you two. I'm tired, so please get out of my house, thank you. Hearing this, Shen Shin Yu grabbed Song Wei's hand and stomped off angrily. Before leaving the door, Song Wei looked back at me. The smugness in his eyes was so obvious that I found it amusing. He's favored, so he can act without restraint. I didn't see Shen Shin Yu for several days, and I peacefully enjoyed my summer vacation. The time was calm, quiet, and comfortable. With my parents' anxious admonishments, I set off on my journey again. For some unknown reason, Shen Shin Yu insisted on leaving on the same day as me. I didn't care. If we leave together, we leave together. It was only that short distance from home to the airport. When we arrived at the airport and got out of the car, Sister Ching Ling's video call came in. Without much thought, I walked aside to answer it. Speaking of Sister Ching Ling, she truly deserved the title of being exceptionally talented and beautiful. However, there was one habit I didn't understand. When she needed to talk to me, she rarely just called. She always insisted on a video call. I once asked her why, and she said that video call ringtones are loud and less likely to be missed. After exchanging greetings, Shen Shin Yu looked at me and smiled. The Yan Yuan is organizing a joint competition with several prestigious universities. The judges are all famous Chinese painting masters. Xiao Chen, would you like to participate? If you want to, would you like to team up with me? Aside from painting, my communication with Sister Ching Ling wasn't extensive, but her achievements in Chinese painting were remarkable. Her soft and beautiful painting style perfectly complemented mine. I had learned a lot from her, and she was both my teacher and my friend. Therefore, being able to team up with her for the competition was exactly what I wished for. Before hanging up, Sister Ching Ling said she had already returned to school and would come to pick me up at the airport. I was a little happy. After ending the call, I saw Shen Shin Yu standing by the roadside not far away, waiting for me with a pile of luggage. Song Wei was with her, his arm hooked around her shoulder, wearing a gentle smile. I couldn't be bothered with them. I carried my luggage and boarded the plane. The plane landed in the evening. I opened my phone, and several messages immediately popped up, all from Shen Shin Yu. Did you land? How Chen Gege, you have a lot of luggage. Is anyone picking you up? How Chen Gege, stay away from girls who are leaving. Don't be so naive. I'm afraid you'll get hurt. I glanced at the messages and deleted them one by one. I replied with 4 words. Already arrived, no need. The person on the other end replied almost instantly, and sent several long WeChat voice messages in quick succession. I deleted them without even listening. I put my phone back in my backpack. Sister Ching Ling was standing in front of a blue car, waiting for me, elegant and with an ethereal aura. When she saw me, her eyes lit up. She jogged over, raised her hands, and rubbed them over the top of my head. Long time no see, Hao Chen. You've grown taller. You're so much taller than me now. I scratched my head, lowered my head, and looked down at her. Sister Ching Ling, you've become even more beautiful. Shen Shin Yu smiled happily. Why are you so thin? Haven't you been eating properly? I couldn't find the right words to answer her immediately. After all, I had been hospitalized once over the summer, and coupled with my low mood, my appetite wasn't great. I had indeed lost quite a bit of weight. I gave a dry laugh and touched my cheek. Sister Ching Ling, after 2 years, you still remember how I used to look? I've been running to lose weight recently. Sister Ching Ling gave me a side eye. You've lost so much weight that your eyes look dull. I don't care if you're dieting or anything else. Starting today, I'm going to feed you back to your original weight. When we get back to the dorm, the room, which hasn't been visited all holiday, is covered in a layer of dust. My roommates will arrive tomorrow. I rolled up my sleeves and cleaned the room. By the time everything was settled, it was almost 7 p.m. I was so tired that my back and legs ached. Just as I was about to lie down on the bed for a rest, Sister Ching Ling first sent me 2 documents, and then called via video chat. She said the documents were for the competition, and asked me to see if I had any fresh ideas. I was genuinely tired, and my voice was weak. Can I look at it later? I just finished cleaning the dorm and want to rest for a bit. She pretended not to hear me and said, you can rest after dinner. The feeding plan starts with this meal. I'll pick you up downstairs. To be honest, I was too tired and really didn't want to move, but my stomach was also very hungry. I thought about it and agreed. Shen Shin Yu added, oh, by the way, do you mind if my classmates come along? I shook my head. I don't mind. It's better with more people. At 7:30, I arrived at the agreed location. As soon as I entered the restaurant, Shen Shin Yu stood up from a window seat in the deep end of the hall. She said something to the person at her table and walked up to me, smiling. I was just about to come and get you. Seeing Sister Ching Ling's extremely beautiful smile, I was momentarily stunned. Shen Shin Yu curved her lips and smiled. Do I look good? I nodded instinctively. Yes, you do. Sister Ching Ling is the most beautiful. It was only today that I realized I was definitely a sucker for beauty. Shen Ling laughed at my silly reaction. Then she led me over and introduced me to her friends. A girl nearby had stars in her eyes. Wow, Lin University has such a handsome junior? Why didn't I know? Sister Ching Ling is so stingy. Why didn't you introduce us earlier? Sister Ching Ling. I don't want to be your sister anymore. Can I be your sister-in-law? Shen Shin Yu was peeling a shrimp while talking. Don't talk nonsense. If you scare him away, you'll be responsible for bringing him back. As she said this, Sister Ching Ling finished peeling a shrimp and placed it on my small plate. I was stunned. Sister Ching Ling. Shen Shin Yu looked at me with clear, slightly innocent eyes and blinked. The words I was about to say were swallowed along with the peeled shrimp. Seeing me eat them one by one, Shen Shin Yu finally showed a happy smile. She was always so gentle and protective of me. She had been this way since I was a child. She knew what I liked and what I didn't. The food she ordered for me was all my favorite, and her friends, jokes aside, were very comfortable to be around. Laughter filled the dining table the whole time, and the relaxed atmosphere effectively dispelled my nervousness. Whenever I was with Sister Ching Ling, I always felt relaxed and at ease. I thoroughly enjoyed the meal. It was raining outside when we left. The weather in northern China in September was already turning cool, and long-sleeve jackets were necessary in the morning and evening. I had just finished physical labor and was sweating, so I had come out wearing a short-sleeved shirt. After dinner, it was 9:30 at night, and with the rain, the outdoor temperature had dropped very low. As soon as I stepped out of the restaurant door, the coolness of autumn hit me. I subconsciously hugged my arms and shivered. Quickly, a jacket with body heat was draped over my shoulders. A faint scent of perfume wafted around my nose. I realized what had happened and wanted to return the jacket, but Sister Ching Ling had already anticipated my thought. She gently pressed on my shoulder. Just wear it. It's not the first time. Getting a cold will delay the competition. That was quite the ultimatum. I was reluctantly and successfully threatened by her. For the next while, apart from attending classes, I was immersed in creation. Shen Shin Yu, under the guise of facilitating communication, reserved a special spot for me in the graduate school's art studio. I could go there anytime. Because of Sister Ching Ling's presence, I became the first freshman at Lin University who could freely enter and exit the graduate school at the same time and attracted a large number of boys who admired Sister Ching Ling. Moreover, Sister Ching Ling truly made feeding me one of her daily routines. When the time came, no matter where I was or what I was doing, she would rush over and take me out to eat. Often, Sister Ching Ling's friends would join us, and over time, I became familiar with them. Because of Sister Ching Ling, they all called me Little Brother. When Sister Ching Ling was around, I felt like a child, happily enjoying her meticulous care. But it seems fate didn't want me to live a comfortable life. That day, I received a video call from Shen Shin Yu. I had just finished showering and was sitting at my desk drying my hair when her call came in. Seeing the flashing profile picture, a rush of mixed emotions hit me. This was the first video call she had made to me since I started university. I didn't know what she wanted. I wanted to ignore it, but when I hung up, she called again. Reluctantly, I swiped to answer, and her face clearly appeared before me. She smiled very happily, her eyes full of warmth. "How, Chen Geiji? What are you doing?" I replied flatly. "Is something wrong?" Her lips curved up. "Am I not allowed to call you when nothing's wrong?" I chuckled lightly, not taking the bait. This kind of flirtatious talk wasn't suitable for us. Even when I was most infatuated with her, I had never joked with her so intimately. It was even less likely now. Shen Shin Yu spoke again. "I have a favor to ask you." "What is it?" My brow twitched, and I had a bad feeling. Shen Shin Yu continued. "Song Wei School is organizing an exchange program with Lin University. He'll be coming over to your side the day after tomorrow. I'm afraid he won't be able to handle things alone." I was speechless. So Song Wei was coming here, and she wanted me to take care of him? Does he not have hands or feet? Honestly, I didn't want to agree. Song Wei looked like a refined scholar, but I always felt he was full of schemes. Besides, I was busy with the competition and was exhausted every day. If it weren't for Sister Ching Ling, I might not even eat properly. Seeing me hesitate, Shen Shin Yu asked again. "Please, Hao Chengege, for me?" She wore an expectant smile. Song Hui also appeared on screen and waved at me. "Hello, Hao Chen! Don't worry, I absolutely won't cause you any trouble." I looked at her bright, smiling face on the screen and frowned. How long is the exchange? Shen Shin Yu's eyes immediately lit up when she heard my question. A month at most. I continued. Let's be clear first. I have a lot going on lately, so I can only do my best. Tell him to come to me if he has a problem, but not to bother me all the time for no reason. Seeing that I had finally agreed, Shen Shin Yu's eyes curved into a smile. How Chengege, thank you. The next morning, Sister Ching Ling and I had breakfast together. She ordered my favorite dishes, but the thought of Song Wei coming made me so annoyed that my appetite suffered greatly. I could only manage 2 bites. Sister Ching Ling sat across from me and asked worriedly, "What's wrong? You're eating so little." I rested my chin in my hand and replied, "Song Wei is coming. I really dislike him." A flicker of confusion crossed Sister Ching Ling's beautiful eyes. "Who is Song Wei? What does his arrival have to do with you?" I was surprised. Could it be that Sister Ching Ling didn't know about Shen Shin Yu and Song Wei? And did that mean she didn't know about the mess between Shen Shin Yu and me either? No wonder Sister Ching Ling had never mentioned it since we met. Thinking it over, I said, "He's your sister's boyfriend. You'll be one family in the future. Don't you know this yet?" Sister Ching Ling picked up a napkin, dabbed her lips, and put it down. Her eyes held an ambiguous light. "Don't joke like that. You and Shen Shin Yu have had a childhood engagement. She can't possibly have another boyfriend in this life." Looking at Sister Ching Ling's innocent face, I suddenly didn't know how to begin. It seemed she really didn't know. And the idea that Shen Shin Yu and I will be together for life was deeply ingrained in the minds of everyone who knew us. Just like in senior year, when I stood on the classroom podium to clarify that Shen Shin Yu and I were only neighbors, no one in the class believed me then. I looked at Sister Ching Ling and said, "Sister Ching Ling, I'm not lying. Shen Shin Yu and I never even started. Song Wei is a classmate from our same year. They got together in senior year. They're both studying at Jin University now, and Shen Shin Yu is quite fond of him." Sister Ching Ling put down her chopsticks and looked at my eyes in disbelief, as if everything I had said was a fantasy. "But I really don't want to talk about such painful things. Sister Ching Ling, can we not talk about this?" Sister Ching Ling just smiled gently. "Okay, whatever makes you happy. Let's go, class is starting soon. But Xiao Chen, remember that no matter what happens, I will be with you." I was truly touched. She was always so sensitive to my emotional shifts. "Sister Ching Ling, why are you so kind to me?" Hearing this, Sister Ching Ling paused, and an unclear emotion churned beneath her gaze, which was quickly suppressed. She then gave a sweet smile. "Our Hao Chen is so smart and handsome. Of course he deserves to be treated well." After eating, Shen King Ling walked me to the classroom door and didn't leave until she saw me find a seat. Seeing me being personally escorted to class by the goddess Yan Yue, several familiar boys came over, asking about my relationship with the goddess. When they learned I was the goddess's little brother, they all acted like I was their actual younger brother-in-law. They even asked me if they were the type of person the goddess liked and if they had a chance to win her heart. I scrutinized these boys with the eye of a responsible little brother-in-law. One's eyes were too small, couldn't tell if they were open or closed. Another's center-parted hairstyle was too outdated, yet another wore overalls and never put down his basketball, clearly obsessed. After surveying them, I publicly announced, "None of you are qualified." The boys clutched their broken hearts and trudged back to their seats. One of them even stayed slumped at his desk for the entire class. Soon it was time for school to end. Despite my extreme reluctance, I was on time to pick up Song Wei at the airport. Song Wei smiled at me. "Hao Chan, you really came to pick me up. You really grant Shen Shin Yu's every request." "That's great. I have a lot of luggage. Can you help me carry some?" Song Wei was as annoying as ever. If I weren't a man who kept his promises, I would have truly just left him there and walked away. I shot him a side glance. "Are you starving? Can't you even carry this much luggage yourself?" With that, I turned and walked away. Song Wei watched me get into the car with a poker face, so angry that he bit his teeth. In the end, he had to load the luggage into the trunk himself. I was baffled. It was only a month-long school exchange. Did he really need 3 large suitcases? Once in the car, Song Wei started nitpicking. "Hao Chen, you've been going to school here for over a year, and you still don't have your own car? You have to take a taxi?" I looked at him, annoyed. "If you don't like it, get out. No one invited you to ride." At that, Song Wei looked wronged. "Hao Chen, you promised Shen Shin Yu you'd take good care of me. Don't you believe I'll call and tell her?" I lifted my phone and practically shoved it in his face. Is Shen Shin Yu your mother? That you have to tell her everything? Go ahead and tell her now. My phone is dead. I can lend you mine. Song Wei was humiliated. His face went from dark to pale with anger, looking as if he wished he could kill me with his eyes. I hummed a tune happily the whole way, ignoring him. I loved seeing him in this state, where he couldn't stand me but couldn't do anything about it. When we reached the school gate, the 2 cars following us also stopped. They were all exchange students who came with Song Wei. After seeing Song Wei settled into his dorm, I was about to leave when he called out to me again. Zhang Hao-chen, I'm hungry. Why don't you treat us to hot pot? There are 7 of us, and we're not familiar with the area. Could you take us around? I was speechless. This person was truly shameless. I gave him a cold look. No money. Goodbye. With that, I turned and walked away. Seeing this, Sung-hae's classmates asked, Sung-hae, didn't you say everything would be taken care of for us here? How come he doesn't even want to treat us to hot pot? The person your girlfriend found for you isn't a pauper, is he? And he doesn't seem to treat you very well. Or were you just bragging, and he doesn't take you seriously at all? Song Wei was vain and cared about his reputation. His face flushed red and pale, changing from the gentle demeanor he used with Shen Shin Yu. His eyes were spitting fire with exasperation. Zhang Hao-chen, if you don't treat us, I'll tell Shen Shin Yu. I laughed when I heard that. How old are you? Still running to tattle? How many little red flowers did Shen Shin Yu give you? Tell whoever you want to tell. Several onlookers were amused by my words and laughed heartily, not giving Song Wei any face. It seemed they were a bunch of fair-weather friends. Furious, Song Wei really pulled out his phone and made a call. Shen Shin Yu answered quickly. Song Wei put it on speaker so we could all hear the conversation. Song Wei's voice was as gentle as ever. Shin Yu, I've arrived at the school. Shen Shin Yu's voice came through. What's wrong? Do you have a cold? Your voice is a little hoarse. Song Wei shook his head and said, Nothing, it's just that my classmates want to eat hot pot, but Hao-chen. Trailing off at the end, Song Wei looked at me awkwardly. I stepped forward and snatched the phone. Your girlfriend wants me to treat her entire group of classmates to hot pot. I don't have the money. I can't afford it. You two continue your chat. Song Wei's mouth hung open, his face flushed with embarrassment. He probably hadn't expected me to be so blunt. Shen Shin Yu was silent. The bystanders were all waiting for the show to continue. Song Wei, unable to bear the shame, softly called out Jin Yui. Finally, Shen Shin Yu transferred me 500 yuan. You pay and take them out to eat. Song Wei cares about face. Don't make it hard for him. I didn't want to reply, but not replying made me uncomfortable. So I typed out a few words and sent it. No time. Then I refunded the money, telling her to transfer it to Song Wei himself. At the same time, I sent the location of the hot pot restaurant to her. Finally, I clapped my hands and swaggered away. Shen Shin Yu called me several times that day, but I ignored them all. That night, just as I was drifting off to sleep, Shen Shin Yu sent me a message. Song Wei is a little shy, so be easy on him. Shen Shin Yu sent me this message late at night, not to explain anything, but to remind me once again not to upset Song Wei. I didn't reply to her message, treating it like a passing cloud, and continued living my peaceful life. I don't know what got into Song Wei, or maybe I wounded his ego, but he surprisingly didn't harass me for several days in a row. This was both a surprise and a relief. The sample for the competition was finally complete and turned out better than I had expected. I was very satisfied with it. Just as I was about to take it to show Ching Ling, her call came in first. Sister Ching Ling, I was just about to call you. The sample is ready. Do you want to take a look first? Ching Ling smiled and said, Xiao Chen and I are practically soulmates. I muttered to myself. Why do I feel like Sister Ching Ling is flirting a little? Then Ching Ling continued, Do you want to take on a job? A massive great job. A classmate's grandfather is celebrating his golden wedding anniversary at the end of the year. He wants to commission a set of paintings to depict the decades of hardship the elderly couple has endured, all painted, to be presented to the 2 seniors on that day. Because the required specifications are high and the time is tight, they offered a very high price. I immediately asked, How high? Shen Ling smiled and said, 150,000 yuan. I was a bit surprised. This classmate was very generous. Can I, an unknown university student, really meet the required specifications? I wasn't very confident. Shen Ling quickly encouraged me. You have to believe in yourself. You will definitely do an excellent job. She certainly had faith in me. I was a bit confused. With such generous terms, why didn't Sister Ching Ling take the job herself? Shen Ling continued. Since you're not saying anything, I'll accept on your behalf. You should focus on preparing for the competition first, and then work on this after the competition. The deadline for completion is after New Year's Day, so it's not that urgent. Before hanging up, she called out to me, "Didn't you want to show me the draft?" So, on a refreshing autumn night, I carried my draft to the Research Institute to find Sister Ching Ling. Shen Ling was waiting for me in the first-floor studio. She was wearing sports shoes, which meant she wouldn't get tired no matter how far she walked. More importantly, those shoes made no noise when walking. The rose wall on the side of the Research Institute was as beautiful as ever. I strolled here at my leisure, feeling relaxed. Midway, I faintly heard a faint, discordant noise coming from the side. The sound was surprisingly familiar. I'm not a gossip, but that familiar voice made me irresistibly curious. Following the sound, I quietly crept toward the wall. In the central part of the rose wall's right side, there was a small, recessed corridor. At the end of it was a disused little room, said to be a storage room for farming tools. The two people were hidden at the end of the corridor, locked in a passionate embrace and kissing. By the light of the mottled lamplight, I finally got a clear look at the person. A cold sweat immediately broke out. It really was Song Wei. I clamped my mouth shut, afraid of accidentally making a sound. Then I quickly ran into the Research Institute's main entrance. I couldn't figure out the relationship between Song Wei and that girl, or when they had gotten together. If they had just met, then Song Wei truly had no love for anyone, and accepted everyone who came his way. But the natural way they were embracing showed a kind of thirstiness, as if they were long-lost lovers. They also looked very much like they had known each other for a long time. It seemed Song Wei's exchange visit to Lin University might have a hidden agenda. Did Shen Shin Yu know? My heart was heavy. I couldn't help but think of how much Shen Shin Yu liked him, of the battles Shen Shin Yu had fought with Uncle and Auntie Shen to be with him, and of Shen Shin Yu's vow that she would marry no one but him. If Shen Shin Yu, who trusted him so much, had seen this scene today, would she go mad? Song Wei was too greedy, having Shen Shin Yu but still playing the field. The human heart is truly unpredictable. What are you doing? Sneaking around? Shen Ling's voice suddenly appeared behind me, startling me into covering her mouth and forcefully pushing her back into the building. Shen Ling didn't know what had happened, but her eyes kept darting around, observing. Only when we were inside the studio did I release the hand covering her mouth. Shen Ling's pretty face was flushed, and a faint flame seemed to be flickering in her cool, clear eyes. Only then did I realize how intimate my actions with her had just been. I turned my head and quickly walked into the studio, carefully placing my draft on the table. I explained the design concept of the painting and the best effect I wanted to achieve to the graduate students. Shen Ling listened very attentively, her beautiful, glass-like eyes lighting up. Wow, little brother Chen, you really are a genius. How did you come up with such a brilliant concept? I grinned and scratched my head. Shen Ling looked up at me, her eyes full of praise. This handsome young man has been outstanding since he was a child. By the time we finished discussing my draft, it was almost 11 o'clock. Shen Ling offered to walk me out, taking the same rose wall path. As we passed the small corridor, I casually glanced left and right, looking for the amorous couple. The place was empty now. Little Chen, why are you acting like a thief tonight? Is there something you're hiding from me? I shook my head and said, Sister Ling, have you seen Song Wei these past few days? Shen Ling rolled her eyes. Why would I see him? I don't have the time to entertain him. I pressed on. He's your future brother-in-law after all. Should I bring him over to introduce you? Sister Ling laughed and shook her head. I'll take care of my own future husband. I'm not interested in other people's husbands. I was confused. Sister Ling, where is your future husband? Do I know him? Shen Ling chuckled and hummed. Extremely well. At that I became excited. Sister Ling, who is the person you like? Is it one of my classmates? But Shen Ling just kept smiling and didn't say anything. I used every method at my disposal to force Sister Ching Ling to say the name of the person she liked. Upholding the spirit of preferring death to submission, Sister Ching Ling only had one line. "You'll know later." All right. Knowing later is fine too. At least I could have Sister Ching Ling to myself for a while longer. Back in my dorm, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. The scene I had just witnessed made me feel uneasy. I couldn't decide whether I should pretend not to have seen it and let Shen Shin Yu continue her beautiful love dream, or tell her so she could quickly eradicate the green grassland growing on her head. I thought for a long time, but couldn't come up with a solution, and ended up falling asleep from exhaustion. I still hadn't made up my mind when I woke up the next morning. This matter left me distracted for 2 days straight, so much so that I didn't even notice Shen Ling standing in front of me for a long time. "How Chen, what are you thinking about? You look so lost in thought." I looked up in surprise. Shen Ling was looking at me with her eyebrows slightly raised and a smile on her face. At that moment, a flash of inspiration hit me. Seeing my eyes light up, Shen Ling, who had a strong sense of self-preservation, immediately took a half step back, crossing her arms in a defensive posture. "What are you going to do?" I sneaked closer to him and whispered, "Sister Ching Ling, do you know any private investigators? Can you introduce one to me?" Shen Ling grabbed my shirt, held me fixed in front of him, and studied my eyes for a while. Only after confirming that I wasn't joking did she speak. "Who do you want to investigate?" I thought for a moment and said, "Last week, a few exchange students from Jin University came to our school. I feel like I recognize one of the boys, and I want to find out who he is." Shen Ling narrowed her eyes and asked, "Is it really that simple?" I was speechless and could only ask her back, "Otherwise?" She took a firm stance. "Otherwise, I won't help you. Tell me the truth. What exactly do you want to do?" "I won't get involved in murky business." I pondered for a long time and finally gave in, telling her the truth. "I want to investigate Song Wei. I suspect he's up to something." When I brought it up, she said, "Xiao Chen, why are you so upset about Shen Shin Yu's business?" I replied, "Shouldn't I be upset, Sister Ching Ling? This concerns your sister's major life decision." Shen Ling looked at me seriously and said, "Tell me the truth. What exactly is going on?" His presence was surprisingly forceful. I had no choice but to tell him what I had witnessed that night. After listening, Sister Ching Ling's face, which usually held a gentle smile, turned ice cold. "So you are doing this to catch Song Wei in the wrong and make him break up with Shen Shin Yu?" I immediately shook my head and denied it. "Sister Ching Ling, where did you get that idea? Even if they broke up now, I wouldn't get involved with him again. You've got it wrong." Shen Ling observed me carefully, and after confirming that I was telling the truth, his expression softened. "Then why are you getting so involved? Haven't you been hurt enough?" I shook my head. "Sister Ching Ling, we grew up together after all. Even if we can't be boyfriend and girlfriend, I don't want him to be deceived. He's your biological sister. Are you really willing to let your own sister have such a vibrant color on her head?" Hearing this, Sister Ching Ling looked at me earnestly and said, "I can help you, but you have to promise me that you will never be so distressed over Shen Shin Yu's affairs again." I nodded, raising one finger. "One last time." Sister Ching Ling then softened and said, "Xiao Chen, you're a good boy." After that, he took me out for some malatang before we went back. I started to wait anxiously, hoping to get solid information within a week. I didn't expect Sister Ching Ling to be so decisive. He got back to me with the results by the evening of the very next day. He said the information was found. Soon, Shen Ling and I were sitting in a corner of a rice noodle shop, like agents meeting for a handover. She placed a file bag in front of me and whispered, "Take a look. It's truly despicable." I couldn't help but ask, "Did you look at it?" Shen Ling nodded, her beautiful face utterly composed, showing no sign of distress over her sister being cheated on. I took the file and started reading it page by page. It turned out that the female student's name was Lin Muxu. She and Song Wei were childhood classmates, both from the upper-class society of Beijing. Their families were well-matched. The two grew up together, were deeply in love, and had long agreed to attend the same university and get married after graduation. Unfortunately, Song Wei's father was caught and arrested, and the Song family was expelled from the Beijing elite. Consequently, The Lin family immediately backed out, strictly ordering Lin Muxue to cut off all contact with Song Wei. Lin Muxue truly loved Song Wei. She would rather defy her family than abandon him. Her parents, left with no choice, had to resort to some tactics, forcing Song Wei and his mother to have no foothold in Beijing. This loving couple was forcefully separated, and since then, all contact between the two had ceased. They thought that was the end of it for this life. But an exchange activity at Jin University surprisingly allowed this star-crossed couple to reunite in the vast sea of people. Within a few sentences, they were embracing each other. The thin 2 sheets of paper only contained information about Lin Muxue and Song Wei. Not a single word mentioned Shen Shin Yu. However, every word narrated the fact that Shen Shin Yu was being cheated on. I quickly finished reading the document and couldn't help but sigh. To be honest, I felt a little gloating. After the brief moment of joy, I was still at a loss, completely unable to decide how to handle the situation. Quote, "Sister Ching Ling, do you think we should tell Shen Shin Yu?" Shen Ching Ling looked at me. "Why are you so conflicted? Can't you just focus on your painting?" I rested my chin in my hand and said, "After all, that's your biological sister. It's one thing if you didn't know, but isn't it a bit unkind to stand by and do nothing when you do know?" Shen Ching Ling scoffed. After a moment of deep thought, she said, "She's blind, treating garbage as treasure. She deserves it." Seeing that I wanted to say something else, Shen Ching Ling immediately interrupted me. "There's nothing to be done. Song Wei's true colors will be revealed sooner or sooner. Let Shen Shin Yu find out for herself. Right now, she's so infatuated with that man that she won't even listen to my parents. How could she possibly believe you or me? If we try to help, she'll just doubt us, and it will only harm our relationship." That made sense, but I still felt like something was not quite right. Given the distance between Shen Shin Yu and me over the past few years, she wouldn't believe me. Instead, she would think I was trying to sow discord between her and Song Wei. I temporarily gave up the childish idea of ratting him out. However, for the sake of having grown up together, I still had to give her a small hint. I lay in bed that night, contemplating for a long time before composing a message and sending it, asking Shen Shin Yu to video call Song Wei more often when he had nothing to do. Shen Shin Yu was very surprised that I had proactively contacted her. Text messages started pouring in, all meaningless greetings and such. I replied twice, then got annoyed, turned off my phone, and went to sleep. The next day, my mother called. I remembered Song Wei's situation and told my mother about it. My mother was silent for a while after hearing it. She also told me to just mind my own business and not interfere with anything else. My mom said that Shen Shin Yu would never believe me, and I would only end up being accused of having ulterior motives. Often, good intentions backfire. Since Sister Ching Ling and my mom shared the same view, I let go of my mental burden and fully dedicated myself to the competition. Sister Ching Ling studied my concept and decided to proceed with my idea. After nearly a week of refinement, we finalized the creative direction and plan to start painting tomorrow. I've been learning to paint for a long time and have participated in countless competitions, but this was my first time in such a high-caliber competition and using this kind of team entry format. I was excited and eager to start, determined to achieve a good result. I rummaged through all my paints and found that I was missing a few colors, so I had to buy them immediately. There was a stationery store at the school, but it had long closed by this time. There was a stationery supermarket on the street behind the school that had a complete selection of items. After dinner, since I had nothing else to do, I went to the back street with my roommate Lin Tian. We hadn't gone far when we saw Song Wei and a woman standing in front of a small hotel, embracing each other without regard for onlookers, which drew curious stares from many passers-by. I couldn't help but sigh. Just a few more steps. Couldn't they kiss inside? Why perform in public at the entrance? At this, Lin Tian touched his chin in a theatrical manner. Isn't that Lin Muxue from the finance department? I heard her family is quite rich, and many guys like her. These two are really bold. I saw them hiding in the restroom chatting the day before yesterday, and today I run into them checking into a room. Young people really have good stamina. Lin Tian was a genuine northerner, very straightforward, and couldn't stand this kind of shady behavior. Lin Tian and I went into the stationery supermarket together. When I came out, my mind was a mess. I took a big pile of things to the checkout, but I completely forgot the paints. It was Lin Tian who reminded me. I quickly went back to pick them out again. After buying everything, we returned to the dorm. I anxiously sent a message to Shen Ching Ling. Sister Ching Ling, I just saw those two check into a room. Should we go catch them in the act? Shen Ching Ling's reply was almost instant. Traditional Chinese painting is not for you. Switch to the police academy. With Sister Ching Ling's reminder, I suddenly understood. Song Wei wasn't afraid of being discovered having two relationships. Why should I, an outsider, be so nervous? The next day, Lin Tian and I went to the school cafeteria to eat. As soon as we entered, we ran straight into Song Wei and Lin Muxiki sitting together, eating. Since Sister Ching Ling came back, she had been dragging me to eat with her every day, so I rarely came to the cafeteria. Today, Sister Ching Ling had something to do off campus and wouldn't be back until the evening, which is why I came to the cafeteria with my roommate. Song Wei had sharp eyes. Seeing me approach, he immediately put some distance between himself and Lin Maxue and waved to me, pretending nothing was wrong. I couldn't be bothered to talk to him, treating him like air. However, Song Wei was determined to cause trouble and approached me. Hao Chen, Shen Shin Yu specifically asked you to take care of me. Is this how you're doing it? It's fine that you haven't shown up for days, but you didn't even call me. Poor Shen Shin Yu still thinks of you as a friend, but it turns out you're the kind of person who says one thing to their face and another behind their back. I shot him a look. You talk about saying one thing to someone's face and another behind their back. Some people really do that. They set up a persona of being deeply devoted and loyal on the surface, but in reality, behind the scenes. I spoke halfway, intentionally leaving the rest unsaid. Hearing this, Song Wei slammed his chopsticks down and loudly questioned me. What do you mean? Make yourself clear. It was lunchtime, and the cafeteria was full of people. Hearing the commotion, they all looked over. I said coldly, "Can't you understand the literal meaning?" I originally planned to turn and leave after my retort, but after taking one step, I turned back and added one more blow in front of Song Wei. Oh, by the way, have you heard that saying? If you don't want anyone to know, don't do it. Don't be too arrogant. Song Wei's face instantly turned pale, perhaps due to a guilty conscience. He stared at me with fearful, unsteady eyes. I didn't do anything. Don't go slandering me, I sneered. I didn't say anything specific. Why are you reacting so strongly? A final piece of advice. Stay away from me and don't provoke me. After speaking, I turned and walked away. A few days later, Shen Shin Yu called to tell me that, due to some special circumstances, Song Wei's exchange was ending a week early. I could hear that she was very happy during the call. I was happy too, after all, out of sight, out of mind. I unconsciously began to compare Shen Shin Yu and Sister Ching Ling. When I was in trouble, Shen Shin Yu either didn't know or just pushed the problem back on me. Sister Ching Ling, whether out of friendship or coincidence, always stood by me and helped me solve problems. Sister Ching Ling could be said to be the person who cared about me the most, aside from my parents. I completely monopolized Sister Ching Ling's free time. Sometimes, when Sister Ching Ling was too busy and we didn't see each other for 2 or 3 days, I would feel flustered, as if something was missing. Sister Ching Ling seemed to know how I felt. No matter how busy she was, she would always make time to call me. After seeing Song Wei off at the airport, I sent a photo to Shen Ching Ling, assuring her that Song Wei had returned safely and soundly. Shen Shin Yu very politely sent me a thank you. I could feel her joy in her voice. I just hoped she could still laugh when she found out the truth. In the blink of an eye, the National Day holiday arrived. Most students, like homing swallows, packed their bags and went home. Some partnered up in groups of 3 to 5 to travel. I had originally agreed with my parents not to go back and to go see the red leaves in Fragrant Hills with my roommates. I had even packed my travel bag. But Sister Ching Ling suddenly told me that the competition time had been moved up, and we had to finish all our work before the 4th. To verify the truth, she even got Professor Xia to testify for her. So I was dragged by Shen Ching Ling back to the Research Institute studio to bitterly finish the final touch-up work. With my planned trip canceled, I couldn't muster any enthusiasm for anything I did. In Sister Ching Ling's words, I had been pouting with a look of deep-seated resentment for several days, without a single smile. Most teachers and students had left school, and there weren't many people around anyway. All day, Sister Ching Ling either watched me eat or reminded me to focus and paint well. I agreed outwardly, but inwardly, I sighed. My National Day holiday is gone, just like that. On the evening of the 3rd, I was busy until 9 p.m. I was so exhausted that I decided I had to finish the rest tomorrow. Sister Ching Ling would not hear of it and insisted that I finish the remaining small bit of work. After another 2 hours, I finally returned to the dorm. After working tirelessly for 3 consecutive days, my head hit the pillow and I fell asleep instantly. I dreamed that my roommate Lin Tian was sitting in a roast duck restaurant, smiling and showing off the pictures he took in Fragrant Hills, making me so angry that I wanted to pass through the dream and punch him. I had planned to sleep well since I had nothing to do during the holiday. However, before dawn, the phone started ringing loudly. I thought it was my mother. I groggily answered and said, "Mom." There was a moment of silence on the other end, followed by a light laugh. A laugh so familiar it made my ears tingle. I instantly woke up and subconsciously looked at the screen. Shen Shin Yu was smiling like an enchantress. Seeing her, I muttered silently, "The big holiday work is done. Why are you harassing me so early in the morning?" Shen Shin Yu laughed even harder, her eyes sparkling. "Don't sleep. I'm taking you out to play." I sighed, "I want to sleep right now." Shen Shin Yu patiently talked to me about how beautiful the scenery was and how many painters were scrambling to go there for sketches. She said that if I went, I might not want to come back. Her sweet voice was very alluring. Shen Shin Yu was not only a master of Chinese painting, but also an expert in persuasion. By the end of it, I felt that not going would be a major regret in life. Thus, I was successfully convinced by Shen Shin Yu's smooth talk. When I stepped out of the dorm with my bag, Shen Shin Yu was standing under a cherry blossom tree, quietly waiting for me, a gentle, slight smile hanging on her lips. Her gaze held a scattering of tenderness. The sunlight filtered through the flowers and fell upon her, making her look like a person from a painting walking into reality. Her beauty made my heart flutter. When I came to my senses, I was already in the car. Shen Shin Yu placed a bag in my hand. "It's too early. I didn't have time to take you for breakfast. I bought this on the way. Just make do with it." I opened it and saw my favorite shrimp dumplings and multigrain porridge from that place. That shop was quite far from Lin University. It was just dawn now. How early did she have to wake up? I secretly glanced at Shen Shin Yu next to me, thinking her face was truly beautiful, often giving me the feeling that I couldn't look away. We talked and laughed along the way, the atmosphere light and pleasant. I thought she would tell me where we were going, and then we would make a travel plan to have a great time for the next 4 days. But Shen Shin Yu was mysterious. No matter what I said, she wouldn't tell me, only saying, "You'll know when we get there. I promise you'll love it." We crossed one mountain and then several bridges, finally reaching our destination. An ecological zone in the hilly region of the Changbai Mountains. There were large expanses of old-growth forest, a rich variety of vegetation, green mountains and clear water, blue skies and white clouds. Sister Ching Ling held my hand, just like when I was a child, and we walked along the mountain path. She talked to me about folk painting masters I had never heard of, and shared her unique understanding of traditional Chinese painting. As we walked the small path she used to lead me down when we were little, we were like tourists in a painting. I looked at Shen Shin Yu and asked, "Sister Ching Ling, this place is so beautiful. How did you discover it?" Shen Shin Yu smiled faintly. "There's something even more beautiful ahead. Do you want to see it?" When the car stopped in front of a small village, I was once again dumbfounded. "Sister Ching Ling, where is this? It's even more beautiful than a painting." I stared blankly at everything in front of me, feeling an itch in my hands. Shen Shin Yu smiled. "Want to paint? Let's eat first, and then we'll paint the sunset." She smoothly found a homestay. The owner, hearing the car, came out enthusiastically to greet us. For dinner, we had typical northern farm-style dishes, and the taste was surprisingly good. I ate so much that it was hard to walk. Shen Shin Yu laughed at me while holding my hand, wandering around the village with me to help digest. That evening, when Shen Shin Yu opened the trunk, the completeness of her gear shocked me. She had actually brought a full set of scrolls and paints. Against the backdrop of the vibrant sunset, she took them out one by one and set them up, then pressed me into the seat in front of the easel and placed a brush in my hand. "I'll paint with you." I stayed rooted to the spot and painted for a full 4 hours. The sun went down, and the moon came up. The lights in the 4 corners of the homestay courtyard were all turned on to illuminate us, but I racked my brains and still couldn't depict the astonishing beauty of this place. Moreover, Gongbi painting, meticulous style, emphasizes detail. 4 hours passed, and I had only managed to sketch a rough outline. I was painting the small stream I had personally walked through that afternoon, the distant mountains, the maple leaves, and even the small grass to the west, all on the paper. But I still felt something was missing. I just couldn't express the spirit I wanted in my heart. After a long period of contemplation, I picked up the brush and quickly sketched. Soon, a long-haired girl in a white dress appeared next to the white, original stone. She was standing barefoot in the stream, playfully teasing the small fish in the water. The splashing water had wet her long skirt. The originally clear and beautiful painting instantly became lively and spirited with the addition of the girl. Shen Shin Yu next to me blinked her big, innocent eyes. "This is too beautiful! Xiao Chen, are you painting me?" I looked at the painting, my gaze gradually deepening, and I was unable to control the heartfelt emotion that came out. Because of Sister Ching Li's presence, the mountains and water scenery pale in comparison. The person I painted, using all my skill, is still not even 1/10 as beautiful as the Sister Ching Li in my heart. Sister Ching Li is the most beautiful scenery in the world. When I came back to my senses, I realized I had said such cheesy things. I turned my head away awkwardly, meeting Shen Shin Yu's tender gaze. Her cheeks were flushed red, and she was staring at me motionlessly. Shen Shin Yu felt her heart pound erratically. When did her little brother, Xiao Chen, become so romantic? His words sounded like poetry, so lovely to hear. For 2 consecutive days, Shen Shin Yu and I explored every corner of this place, etching all the lush scenery into our minds and taking many photos. When I returned, I wanted to use my paintbrush to meticulously depict these views that I couldn't get enough of, making them eternal. The journey back seemed much shorter. Shen Shin Yu and I went to the Research Institute's office and showed our final draft to Professor Xie for her review. Professor Xie nodded, very satisfied with our final draft. It was then that we submitted the draft to the competition organizer. I felt the burden on my shoulders lighten considerably and began to focus on creating the album for the elderly couple's golden wedding anniversary. I thought it would be done with traditional Chinese painting, but after careful inquiry, I learned they wanted colored pencil drawings. To be honest, I've specialized in traditional Chinese painting since childhood and had some exposure to sketching, but I hadn't practiced colored pencils much, and I had never drawn with them before. However, I've always had a spirit that refused to admit defeat. Sister Ching Li recommended a course to me. I learned and drew at the same time, and gradually I found joy in it. My drawing became smoother and smoother. Unknowingly, the semester quickly passed. Time soon came to the end of December. It became very cold outside, and the students all put on thicker cotton clothes. Sister Ching Li sent me a WeChat message asking me to come downstairs because she had something important to tell me. I put on a thick coat, put my phone in my pocket, and ran out. In the morning, a light snow had fluttered down from the sky. White snowflakes hung on the branches. Shen Shin Yu stood under a tree and waved to me, her face filled with irrepressible excitement, as if something incredibly good had happened. I jogged over and asked, "Sister Ching Li, are the competition results out?" Shen Shin Yu nodded, her eyes sparkling. "Xiao Chen, guess which place we got?" I tentatively voiced my guess. "Couldn't be first place, right?" Shen Shin Yu stepped forward and gently hugged me. "Of course it's first place. Our Xiao Chen is the best, the #1 in the world." That evening, Shen Qinglai and I talked happily and unreservedly on the campus, which had just seen its first snow, attracting many envious glances. In the past, no matter what happened, I wanted to share it with Shen Shin Yu. But that day, when I won first place in the competition, I didn't think of her. To celebrate winning first place in the competition, Shen Shin Yu treated me, along with a few of her best friends, to a meal. By the end of the dinner, my roommates and I were a little tipsy, slinging our arms over each other's shoulders and loudly singing off-key songs in the quiet night. Shen Shin Yu hadn't drunk much and was still very sober. She walked me to the dormitory building, watched me go inside, and then turned to leave. As we went upstairs, Lin Tian, slightly drunk, spoke up. "Brother Chen, I see that Sister Ching Li's eyes when she looks at you are just different. What exactly are your intentions? If you're going to do something, stop keeping her hanging, he added. I'm telling you, she's the goddess in the hearts of all the boys at Lin University. Don't miss out. I've explained it 100 times. That's my sister Ching Ling, the sister who's loved me most since childhood. In her mind, I'm the little brother, and she's the older sister. This perception is already deeply rooted. I was tired of explaining. Everyone else wasn't tired of hearing it, but I was tired of saying it. I could only pretend not to hear. Lin Tian poked me with his elbow in exasperation. Just be dense. With your emotional intelligence, I really feel bad for the goddess. We talked and laughed. As soon as we reached the 4th floor, we ran into another roommate. The two of them immediately steered the topic back to me, even saying that Shen Shin Yu liked me and that I should cherish her and quickly claim her. Unable to explain, I simply pretended to be asleep. I thought I would be going home alone for the winter break, but that morning, as soon as I stepped out of the dorm, I saw Shen Shin Yu waiting under a tree with her suitcase. She said she hadn't been home for almost 2 years, and her family asked her to come back for the new year. I was overjoyed. Sister Ching Ling, why didn't you tell me earlier? Shen Shin Yu smiled lightly. I wanted to give you a surprise, didn't I? Well, it was indeed a surprise. With Shen Shin Yu, the journey home was much more comfortable. It felt like we arrived at the Jiang family's house very quickly. I went up and knocked on the door. My mom opened the door. Seeing me come back, and with Shen Shin Yu no less, she was first surprised, then happily greeted her. Ching Ling is back! You're even prettier than before! Xiao Chen didn't cause you much trouble at school, did he? My mom took my luggage while enthusiastically ushering her into the house. How could he? Xiao Chen is very sensible and not troublesome at all. Shen Shin Yu chatted with my mom for a while, then turned and knocked on her own door. Within 2 seconds, I was deafened by Aunt Shen's shriek. My mom pursed her lips and smiled. Look how happy your aunt is. Shen Shin Yu's return was unexpected by both Uncle Shen and Aunt Shen. Even Shen Shin Yu was pleasantly surprised. She had her break earlier than us, but was scheduled to return a day later. The day Shen Shin Yu returned, Uncle and Aunt Shen specially organized a dinner. They said that for 2 years, family gatherings always missed Shen Shin Yu, and this time, the two families must have a reunion dinner together. Shen Shin Yu was to go directly to the restaurant after landing. We all returned together after the meal. The so-called reunion dinner had everyone present, but it was not as harmonious as expected. Song Wei had come with Shen Shin Yu, which surprised everyone. The 8 of us from the 2 families sat together, and the atmosphere was instantly very awkward. My parents' smiles faded immediately upon seeing Shen Shin Yu and Song Wei. They greeted them politely and didn't say much more. Uncle and Aunt Shen's faces were very grim, especially Aunt Shen, who kept secretly glancing at my mom and me, unable to hide the embarrassment and irritation on her face. I admit that even now, 2 years later, it's better if I don't see her. But once I see her, and those eyes I was once so infatuated with, there are still some indescribable emotions in my heart. Shen Shin Yu sat next to me, keenly detecting the change in everyone's emotions. She also saw my slightly disheartened expression because of their joint appearance. She quietly took my ice-cold hand, which startled me awake. Then I heard Shen Shin Yu's pleasant, mature voice. Don't force yourself if you're unhappy. Do you want to go out for a walk? I smiled, turned my head to look at her, and slightly shook my head. No, I'm fine. The dishes were served quickly. Uncle Shen urged everyone to start eating. Everyone complied and began to eat. The 4 elders had various expressions on their faces, eating in silence. Shen Shin Yu broke the silence and put a piece of food into Song Wei's bowl. Song Wei, the fish head here is delicious. Try it. However, she only talked about the fish head but put broccoli in his bowl. It seemed Shen Shin Yu wasn't as composed as she looked. Song Wei didn't eat the food in his bowl. Instead, he stared at Shen Shin Yu. Xin Yue, is this Shen Shin Yu? Shen Shin Yu's hand, holding the chopsticks, paused. She first glanced at Shen Shin Yu, then said, Yes, this is my sister, a graduate student at Lin University, the one she claims to attend. Hao Chen, Song Wei went to Lin University for an exchange. Why didn't you introduce him to Sister Ching Ling? My heart clenched. The food I had just put in my mouth got stuck in my throat, neither up nor down. Here she comes again! Another baseless accusation. I was about to retort when Shen Qingli pressed down on my hand on my lap. She said coldly, "You are Song Wei, right? Why should Hao Chen introduce you to me? Does every Tom, Dick, and Harry want to meet me?" Sorry, I don't have that kind of free time. Song Wei's purpose for coming was probably to build a relationship with the Shen family, but he didn't expect Shen Qingli to give him no chance at all. His face immediately froze in embarrassment. Shen Shin Yu, seeing Song Wei's extremely restrained appearance, felt so much pain that she slammed her chopsticks on the table. "Sister, how can you say that? Song Wei is my boyfriend, not some irrelevant Tom, Dick, or Harry." Shen Qingli scoffed. "If he's your boyfriend, then he's a junior. Why didn't he greet me when he was at Lin University for the exchange? Doesn't he respect me as his sister?" This was a big accusation. Shen Shin Yu clearly knew that her own strength was insufficient to fight the whole family. After weighing her options, she was the first to show weakness. She protectively took Song Wei's hand and said, "Song Wei, let me formally introduce you. This is my sister, Shen Qingli." "Sister, I'm sorry. It's my fault, not Song Wei's." Shen Qingli glanced at Song Wei out of the corner of her eye, tossed the napkin onto the table, and said, "I heard there's a playboy in Beijing named Song Wei. I wonder if it's the same name." Hearing this, Song Wei's face instantly changed color. The elders pretended not to hear the conversation on this side. My mom and dad quietly discussed whether or not to add garlic to the broccoli. Uncle and Aunt Shen had dark expressions and didn't say a word. Shen Qingli and Shen Shin Yu exchanged silent glances, while I lowered my head and ate my meal quietly. This dinner was truly exhausting. I was contemplating all this chaos when Song Wei suddenly looked at me, his gaze as sharp as a knife, full of intense hatred. With just a little thought, it was clear that he must have thought I told Shen Qingli about his cheating, but I had never told on him. However, it made sense for Song Wei to be suspicious. I was the only one who knew about his exploits at Lin University. The atmosphere at the dinner table was unusually suffocating and uncomfortable. I regretted coming to this dinner. It was so pointless. After saying goodbye to both sets of parents, I left. I don't know what happened after I left, but in the end, this reunion dinner ended in another unpleasant parting. After returning home, my mom and dad whispered to each other in a corner, covering their mouths as if afraid I would hear them. I had absolutely no interest in delving into the details of what happened at the dinner table, and it couldn't possibly affect me. Later, Shen Qingli told me that Song Wei was forced to leave midway that day and return to his home in Nanchang. Afterward, Song Wei and Shen Shin Yu had a fight. Shen Shin Yu said she would go to his house, which finally eased the tension. However, Shen Shin Yu's parents didn't like Song Wei at all, so they confined Shen Shin Yu at home and wouldn't let her go out. Because of this incident, it seemed my family wouldn't be able to celebrate the new year with the Shen family this year. Mom said we hadn't planned to celebrate together this year anyway. We just hadn't found a reason to decline. For the first time in 20 years, our two families ate the Shaonian Little New Year dinner separately. I don't know what it was like at the Shen family's house, but my family of 3 was quite happy. Mom brought all the dishes to the table. Dad opened a bottle of red wine and poured a glass for Mom and me. I picked up my glass, ready to say a few congratulatory remarks to liven up the atmosphere, when someone suddenly knocked on the door. I put down my glass and went to open the door. I thought it was Aunt Shen coming to look for us again. I opened the door without looking and blurted out, "Auntie, our food is all ready. Come in and have a taste." Calling everyone Auntie? Are you blind? A sweet voice with a hint of laughter and teasing came through. Shen Twangli walked in without being invited. "Uncle and Auntie, can I come to your house for the Xiao Nian dinner?" My parents were quite happy to see Shen Qingli. They quickly welcomed her. "Welcome, welcome. How could we not welcome you? Come, sit down, Xiao Chen. Get another set of tableware." At the dinner table, Shen Qingli kept telling my parents how excellent I was at school, saying that my drawings were used as examples by the professor and displayed in class, and that I earned almost 200,000 yuan on my own merit in one go. Throughout the meal, Shen Qingli delighted my parents, who kept adding food to her plate. It was as if she was the biological daughter. I, on the other hand, could only sit on the side as a foil, having to be attentive, constantly fetching things for others. After dinner, the 3 of them were still chatting happily. I carried a large pile of bowls and chopsticks into the kitchen. After washing all the bowls like a worker, I finally took a long breath. Just as I stepped out of the kitchen, Shen Yu suddenly leaned closer. I only saw a momentary blackout. That incredibly beautiful face, which seemed to provoke the wrath of the gods, was less than 5 centimeters away from mine. I could clearly see her long eyelashes trembling slightly, and her rosy, thin lips were slightly pursed. I had never been this close to any person of the opposite sex, not even Shen Shin Yu. My heart involuntarily thumped erratically, and I was flustered. I tried my best to lean my head back, but I exerted too much force, and the back of my head hit the door frame. The pain made me cry out, "Ouch!" Shen Ling's lips curled into a light smile. She took a tissue from her pocket and gently wiped the sweat from my forehead. "You've sweated so much, you must be exhausted. Xiao Chen, you're really hard-working." I scratched the back of my head with my right hand. "Only today." Shen Ling smiled even more brightly, like a red rose blooming in the dark night. "Xiao Chen, I've almost forgotten what the night market near home looks like. Could you accompany me to take a walk?" I nodded. "Of course I can." It seemed she hadn't been back for too long. Shen Ling, who used to dislike taking photos, held her phone and kept snapping pictures along the way. Occasionally, she would turn on the front camera for selfies. But each time, she insisted on having me in the frame, coordinating with her poses. When we passed by a large shopping mall, there was a performance on the stage. We arrived a bit late and were standing on the very outside, unable to clearly see what was being performed on stage. Shen Ling stood at the periphery, looking left and right for a less crowded spot, occasionally standing on tiptoe. She looked a little endearingly awkward due to the contrast with her usual composure. I looked at the stage, then at Shen Ling, and said, "Sister Ling, do you want to see the stage show?" Shen Ling looked at me and nodded, humming softly. "Yes." Suddenly, I grabbed Shen Ling's exquisite hand and pulled her through the crowd, squeezing all the way to a spot very close to the stage. With an unintentional turn of my head, I met Sister Ling's tender, watery eyes. She was staring at me motionlessly, the tenderness in her eyes like a vast ocean, completely engulfing me. She didn't say anything, but just that look. It seemed to convey everything that needed to be said. I understood every unspoken word. My heart suddenly started racing, and my cheeks slowly grew hot. That night, I took Shen Ling home and returned to my own house after 10 p.m. I showered and lay in bed, my mind a mess. I didn't know if it was my misconception, but the way Shen Ling looked at me was getting warmer and warmer. Sometimes I would mistakenly think that look contained like. But she was my sister Ling. How could that be? It must have been a mistake. That year, Shen Shin Yu called me a shameless Klingon, and only then did I realize she merely regarded me as a neighbor's older brother. I was the one who was scolded so badly because I misunderstood her feelings. Now that I've grown up, I know I can never endure being called a shameless Klingon again. So I don't dare to guess, and I don't dare to believe. If being a neighbor's younger brother is the way for me to never be hurt, I think I'm willing. Just then, my phone chimed with a notification. I opened it and saw a message from Shen Shin Yu. "Did you have fun?" I was a little confused by her question, but I replied with the 2 words, "Had fun." The other party replied instantly, "Are you and Big Sister together?" I wasn't willing to answer, and retorted, "Who I'm with, does that concern you?" After a while, she edited a long message and sent it over. "You two are not suitable. A person like Big Sister is an executive. How could she genuinely like you? You can't let your desire for revenge on me ruin your life. Can you break up with Big Sister?" Seeing this message, I was speechless. What exactly was Shen Shin Yu trying to do by suddenly acting like this? Although Sister Ling and I weren't actually dating, and Sister Ling only treated me as a neighbor's younger brother, I still replied to her, "That's my business and has nothing to do with you." After sending this message, I subconsciously opened the red dot on my moments. The first post was from Sister Ling. "This Chinese New Year is no longer lonely." Below it were many pictures, all taken during our walk on the street just now. Among them, a few photos of Shen Ling and me stood out, and in the comment section below, Shen Shin Yu replied with 3 question marks. I looked at this post a few times and felt nothing was wrong. Maybe Shen Shin Yu misunderstood, so I stopped thinking about it, turned off my phone, and closed my eyes. This winter break, I basically spent the entire time with Shen Ling. During the day, she would come to my house, and sometimes we would discuss knowledge about traditional Chinese painting. In the evening, Shen Ling would drag me out to go shopping with her. One time when I was walking Shen Ling home, Shen Shin Yu's voice suddenly came from the second-floor window. How Chen, brother? I slightly raised my head and glanced at her. Shen Shin Yu was wearing pink pajamas and looked somewhat haggard. In the past, I might have felt bad, but now I was completely unperturbed. I waved at her, and then turned to leave. I only heard bursts of knocking sounds on the window behind me. It wasn't until the Lantern Festival that Shen Shin Yu was likely going to leave alone this year, because Song Wei had returned to his school in Kyoto early. My plan with Shen Ling was to eat first, then go to the amusement park, and finally watch the lanterns in the square. Before leaving, Aunt Shen came to find us. She said Shen Shin Yu had been at home all holiday, and after being alone for so long, she wanted to go out and play with us. Although Shen Ling was somewhat reluctant, she was still her biological sister and couldn't just leave her behind. So she had no choice but to bring this tag along with us. We arrived at the amusement park around 6 p.m. But because it was the holiday, there were still many people at the entrance of the amusement park, mostly young students. As we stood at the entrance, Shen Ling, who had grown fond of taking pictures this holiday, took out her equipment and asked Shen Shin Yu to take a commemorative photo of her and me. Shen Shin Yu pouted, reluctantly holding Shen Ling's small camera and adjusting the film dial. In that brief moment, the corner of my eye caught a familiar figure, and I was startled. It was Song Wei. The person accompanying him was Lin Muxue. I would recognize him even if he were turned to ashes. Across the street was a hotel, and the two were walking in that direction. Lin Muxue had her arms around Song Wei's waist, looking very intimate. It turned out that Song Wei hadn't returned to Kyoto yet. His excuses were only to deceive Shen Shin Yu. In reality, he was meeting Lin Muxue. I have to say, these two wild lovers were truly bold. If they wanted to do something sneaky, couldn't they go somewhere farther away? Why do it in front of so many eyes? Could it be that Lin Muxue came to see Song Wei long ago, and the two even spent the new year together? I turned to look at Shen Ling and saw that she was also staring at the two people. Just then, Shen Shin Yu looked at us and said leisurely, "Sister, it's a bit backlit. It's not clear. Let's change direction." As soon as she mentioned changing direction, I instantly sprang up like a rabbit, circling around her, chasing and intercepting her, not letting Shen Shin Yu turn around. Unfortunately, man proposes, God disposes. Shen Shin Yu suddenly stopped her body. She finally saw them. She was instantly covered in cold sweat and quickly looked at Shen Ling. "Oh no, what should we do?" Shen Ling gently patted my shoulder and whispered next to me, "Don't rush. Let's see how things unfold." Shen Shin Yu was like a soulless puppet. She stared blankly at the two for a while, countless emotions swirling in her eyes, finally turning into a sharp scream. Shen Shin Yu then rushed over.